All right, let's get going. Thank you everyone for joining today. Welcome to our weekly onboarding live stream. Every Tuesday around this time, we go live to welcome new users to Vendorful, show you how to navigate the basics of using the system, and give some tips and tricks along the way. So with that, I'm just going to get started. This will be available for viewing later on our channel. And just get into it. So when you log into Vendorful for the first time, you will see a dashboard looks something like this. There are two main things you can do in Vendorful. You can add sources to your content library, and then you can answer questions using those sources. You can answer questions in two ways. You can answer them in the form of filling out a full response, so completing an RFP or a security questionnaire or something like that, or just asking specific one-off questions of our AI assistant based on your content library. And I'll show you how to do both. First, though, I want to talk about the content library, and I want to show you how to add information to your content library. So this is, just to set the context here, this is a demo account where the company, the organization using Vendorful is a CRM provider. It's called Acme CRM. And so you'll see there's some content in here related to their CRM product. I'm going to upload some additional content to show you how it works. But the kind of content that you're going to want to add to your library would be past responses, so whether it's RFP, DDQ, or security questionnaire responses, or whatever it may be, things that have the form of a question and answer pair. That's kind of the most useful because it's structured data and we're able to identify exactly what's in that document very easily. But you can also just upload two types of general content. You can upload Word documents and PDFs, just general text, and we'll extract the text from those documents. The latest thing that you can do is you can actually give us a URL, like your homepage or support pages, and we will actually import that as well. I'll show you how it works. We don't actually have a website set up for Acme CRM, so I'm not going to use that content, but I'll show you how to do it. All right, so let me start with the order I went through there. I'm going to start with a spreadsheet that has a structure of questions and answers, because again, that's the easiest for us to process and kind of the most valuable in terms of providing structure of somebody asked you this question, you answered this way, and that's going to be the most informative going forward. So questionnaire spreadsheets can take a lot of different forms. So when you upload a spreadsheet, rather than us just processing the document straight through, we ask you to give us a little bit more information about the structure of the document. Specifically, we ask you to tell us where the questions and answers are in here. And so we have this little thing we call an annotator. It just looks like a spreadsheet in the browser. And when you open it up, you see it's defaulted to selecting the questions. And we're just going to highlight some cells in here. And that tells us that these are questions. And then we can highlight answers. And that tells us these are the answers that correspond to those questions. And there are some shortcuts in here, the most important of which is I can just select a whole column or a whole row, but column is going to be more useful usually. So I selected a whole row, a whole column of questions. I'm going to select a whole column of answers, and then we just automatically look down and say, okay, well, these blank cells, they don't matter. This is a question, this is an answer. And you see we've identified 35 question and answer pairs in this document. When we're ready to go, we just click Add Content, and it just goes and does its thing. Sorry, just checking one thing here. Okay, let's go back to this. All right, so it is parsed that content. It has selected a bunch of question answer pairs, or identified those question answer pairs, and it's added them to your content library. You see, get this little success message here, and if I wanted to start a response, there's a shortcut to do so. But I actually want to add some more content to show you how other things work. So I've actually uploaded this one twice. So that's a little mistake on my part. So let's remove the latest one. I'm going to upload a different one. There's nothing inherently wrong with having the same document in there twice, but it can provide a little extra weight in a way that you may not want. It sort of makes it look like you're kind of double loading those answers. So it's generally a better practice to only have each document in there one time. So here's a very similar looking questionnaire. I mean, questionnaires can take many different forms, but the same basic principle applies. Got a bunch of questions, got a bunch of answers. This one's a little bit different because it's got the all the headers here on each section. So I'm going to just take the 10 seconds to go through and just select all the questions by hand. And now that I've selected those questions, I can use my shortcut, select that whole column of answers, and I've matched up 23 question answer pairs. Now, before I upload this, I want to call your attention to one more thing. You see we do support multiple sheets. So, a lot of RFPs or questionnaires will have many sheets in them. You can, if there was content spread across multiple sheets here, you can select those questions and answers across multiple sheets. In this case, there's only one that has the questionnaires. So we're going to upload that. Okay, so that's done. Now, so I've got 2 completed RFPs. I'm going to upload a PDF document. So here I've got a business continuity plan and disaster recovery plan. So I've just selected that. Now in this case, this is just a PDF file. And so rather than taking you to an annotator to tell us the structure of the document, it's just text and sections and things like that. And so we actually just break it up into chunks and we ingest those chunks, and it just happens automatically. So you'll see we have a few different examples of those documents in here that are more text-based documents. Then the last thing you can do is you can import a URL. So this works very simply. Like if I want to take a specific landing page from Vendorful, I know that we've got some helpful content on this landing page. So I'm just going to ingest this landing page. I'm going to delete it at the end of this because it's not relevant to Acme CRM. But you see, it just takes a couple seconds. It goes and gets the web page, and just like ingesting a document, we now have the text of that web page. We've parsed out the HTML to clean it up, and all of this information, whether it's marketing information or help information, product documentation, we've added, for example, in our own instance of this, we've added support documents to our content library because that has a lot of useful product information. So there may be things like that you want to add to your content library. So like I mentioned, this one's a real live website, not related to a fake company. So I'm just going to delete it so I don't mess up the AI. So here we've got now a pretty decent sized content library. We usually recommend having between 5 and 20 pieces of content. There's no hard and fast rules because different types of content will have different uses and will be more or less valuable in answering future questionnaires that you receive. Broadly speaking, as an example, if you have, a single 500 question RFP, that's probably going to provide a lot more information than like a 2-page marketing document. It's going to be a lot more useful for answering future questionnaires. So, we don't have a specific rule. If you're able to upload a few RFPs, that's really helpful. If you're able to upload like 5 to 10, text documents that sort of cover different aspects of your product or service, that's also very helpful. Okay, now that our content library is set, I'm going to start a response. Now, we support responses in a couple different formats. I'm going to start with Excel because we've now seen it. It's familiar. We can kind of go a little deeper. And then after this, though, I'm going to show you the latest thing that we support, which is Word documents and how that works. Okay, so here's an Excel document. Again, questionnaires can take a lot of different formats, and you'll see this one has a pretty familiar structure. It has this, questions, and then some of these questions have yes/no answers, or NA, and then some have, and then they all have a comment field. So we support this, multiple choice and comment structure because it's so common in both RFPs and security questionnaires and DDQs, all three of those. And it works more or less the same way as everything else works with this annotation. So again, I'm going to use a shortcut here. I've selected, these are all the questions. This is where, I can just select this whole column because these are, a bunch of answers. To add these multiple choice answers, I'm just going to go and select them one at a time because they're in kind of a weird format here. The format that you get might be a little bit different, but I just took me a couple seconds to just select these multiple choice. And now, for example, question 2.1, we now know, the system knows, all right, does your CRM incorporate both email broadcasting and texting capabilities? It knows that the answer to this is spread across 2 cells, and it can look at the structure of those cells and say, okay, one of those cells is a multiple choice, and then one of those is a comment. And so it is actually going to answer by looking at the multiple choice options and selecting one of those options and then providing a comment. So you'll see what that looks like when I get through this. All right, so I'm ready. I'm going to submit it. And now it starts generating answers. So first it's parsing all the questions that it sees and processing them and kind of figuring out the relevant content from its content library. And then once it has that, it goes and it starts actually generating the answers based on the question, its understanding of the question based on the content library we've provided and whatever is relevant to doing that. And so you see that it runs through at the pace of, between, call it 5 and 15 seconds per answer, depending on the length and complexity of the answer. And so it's got, 32 more questions to get through. It'll take a couple minutes. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to show you, actually, I'm not going to show you Ask the AI. I'm going to show you what it looks like to do the same thing with Word document, and then we'll come back to Ask the AI at the end. So I mentioned this is a new feature for us just in the last couple weeks. When you have an incoming RFP in Word format, it works very, very similarly. You upload the document. The annotation is a bit different because, of course, Word documents are different from Excel files. So you see we have this incoming RFP. It's got a pretty typical structure. It's got this cover letter, which is not actually a questionnaire. It's just providing some useful information on the context. And then it has a questionnaire at the end here. And just like we saw with the Excel version, all we need to do is tell us, all right, this is a question, this is a question, this is a question. If there's a multi-part question, what I can do is I can actually select 2 and I can merge those 2 together. Oops, excuse me, sorry. First I need to select the question. Then what I can do is I can say, all right, these are actually, I'm going to merge these. And so this is useful where you have a document where there's, say, a paragraph of context and then a question at the end of it. We can't know, looking at it ahead of time, that those 2 things are supposed to comprise a single question, with the paragraph sort of informing the question. And so you can merge those together into a single question. Other shortcut in here, so I can actually just highlight whole chunks of text, and then it will automatically break them up based on the new lines into multiple questions. And again, if some of those lines of text should be merged into a single question, then you can just use the merge to do that. So, slightly more involved than doing the Excel annotation, but not that much. So this one's a little bit longer than the Excel document also that I uploaded. Don't know how many questions are in here, but it's a little bit bigger. So it'll take me just another couple minutes. Okay, so now it's done that. I can go ahead and I can submit that. And just like with the Excel version, it's taking all those questions and it's going and just generating answers. So there were 50 questions in there. All right, while it's processing this, let's jump back over to the one that we finished already, the incoming CRM RFP. Okay, so you see it's done now. So that just took a few minutes. There were 38 questions in here, of which it answered 37. Now that includes the yes/no portions and then the comments. So you'll see that like we split those up into 2 questions. When you download the response, it will be in the format that you want, where it has, question, yes, no, NA, and then comment. But we'll present them as separate questions so that you can manage the answers appropriately. And then you see that we've got this one question here that we were not able to answer based on your content. And we provide the ability to drill down and filter on these. So I can look at all the answered ones, I can look at the one that's missing answers. We'll come back to that one and talk about it a little bit. Going through these answers in some detail, if we want to drill down here on, outlining companies' primary areas of expertise. How did I come up with this answer? If I click on that, you see we have this option to view related content. And I can see, this is the answer provided. These are the pieces of content. These are, first of all, the content library answers, the question answer pairs that it used, that it decided were relevant to answering this question. So it, took all of these things as relevant, and then it also had some matching content from the other, the unstructured text, the documents that we've uploaded. And these are all the different sources of information. This is really useful for a couple of things. One, if I decide, this one's a little bit too wordy, I actually want to just go with this shorter, punchier one that we've used in the past, I can just select that, and now I can use that content library answer. If I want to edit it, I can do so, say whatever I want to say there, and then, add that to the library. And then also, if I just want to audit where a piece of information came from, if something looks a little strange to me, that where did, is there some piece of outdated data? Is there some new piece of data I don't know about that somebody else added? Then you can actually look in here and see where the different pieces of information came from. So I'm actually going to use this content library answer, because then you'll see that we now have a different category of answer here. We're tracking which answers were generated by the AI, which are answered by me, the human, and then which are missing an answer. Okay, so we can drill down on all of those. At the end of this, we can import the answers that I have edited myself back into the content library, so that any answers you provide that you've worked on here, you can just add them into the content library so that they're available for future users or your future self when you're running your next RFP. One thing we do not do is we do not automatically import AI generated answers. You are free to do that yourself if you like the way an RFP questionnaire came out. You can download the response and you can add it back into your content library later. But we don't want to automatically do that for various reasons. One, most obvious, if the answer quality isn't good, we want there to be the human check involved. We want to sort of have you serve in the role of reviewer. We never want to just automatically assume everything is perfect. We want to save you a lot of time, but give you the opportunity to review content. And the other thing is, there's some evidence out there that AI generated answers based on AI generated answers start to develop quality problems. Early to say, we haven't seen any real issues with that, but we just want to be cautious and go slow and not make any assumptions. So 2 more things here. One, I mentioned the yes/no answers. So you see, does your CRM facilitate task automation like dispatching email reminders? Yes, and then also here is the comment. So this is the one that is drawn from the drop-down options. There were 3 options, yes, no, and NA, and selected yes. And then it provided a comment. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when you download this, when you export these results into the native format, it's going to put it back in the question, drop-down, comment structure that it came in. Then the last thing I'm going to show you here, missing answer. One thing we've tried very hard to do is to not make up answers. You may have heard of this concept of hallucination, where language models want to be helpful, or they're programmed to be helpful. I don't want to assert a desire on their part. Just they're programmed to be helpful. They will tend to make up answers even if they don't really know the answer. We have tuned our model very carefully to be conservative and not answer questions that it can't answer. Because the worst thing that can happen is for it to provide an answer that is untrue, and for you to not catch it. So in this case, there was a question in here about which city has the best pizza. There's no information in the content library about pizza, and so it just said, you know what, I can't answer this. There's plenty of information on the internet about this. There's probably plenty of information in its language training set about this, but since there's no information in the content library about it, we do not provide an answer. Okay, so with that, I'm not going to go in depth on the Word version here, but I just wanted to jump back here and show you same thing. It processed the responses to these questions in the Word document I uploaded while we were looking at the other one, the Excel one, and here it is, very similar thing. And again, you can download the response. And once again, we've got the filters. So there's no information in our database about pricing structure. And that's good. You probably want to actually provide that information yourself bespoke every time. So it didn't provide an answer to that. Okay. Last thing I want to show you is Ask the AI. Now, for those of you who are on a pro plan, this feature can also be accessed through a Slack integration, and coming soon, a Teams integration as well, so that directly in your own chat application, your team chat application, you can ask questions of your content library, just by using the /Vendorful command. You can also access it through the user interface. And the Ask the AI can be used for really any general use. Let's say that I've received an email, I'm working on a prospect, I'm working on a deal, and they want to, their IT security has a question, their IT team has a question about our disaster recovery plan. So just say how often, specifically they want to know how often do we, test our disaster recovery procedures. I haven't actually asked this before. I think that this is outlined in the disaster recovery plan. There you go. And it is. So, rather than me having to go to somebody in our IT security team or somebody who's responsible for disaster recovery, I can just ask the content library and get a summary. Another question. What is our encryption policy? Oops. There you go. So the purpose of this is to both save you time by freeing you from having to go to subject matter experts on your team, and also free up their time, so that rather than having to answer questions that could be answered by reference to a document and having to identify who knows where the document is and which document is the right one to answer a specific question, just reference the content library, let the AI figure out where to look and how to consolidate the information, and let you get the answers you need very quickly. As I said, this feature is available through Slack, and will be available very soon through Teams for anyone who's on a pro plan. And if you're interested in it, just reach out to us. I think it's frankly the most useful way to use this feature. We use it frequently ourselves internally. Okay, with that, I've kind of showed you all the basics, and we're happy to, we're always happy to hear from customers. So if you've got any questions after this session, you should always feel free to reach out to us. The last thing I guess I should show you is we've got this little help widget here. This is the easiest way to reach us. You can access our knowledge base here, but you can also just contact us through this help widget, or support@vendorful.ai. Like I said, always happy to hear from users about anything. If you've got any questions, reach out. And with that, I'll let you all go. Hope you have a great day, and best of luck with Vendorful.